Belleville for July 2nd, 2015 will now come to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Caruso.
Here.
Brazil.
Here.
Montalbano.
Here.
Sheldon.
Here.
Mafucci.
Here.
Del Garcia.
Here. Madam Secretary, have notice of this meeting been given in accordance with the Sunshine Law?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, notice of this meeting has been given to the press and the public in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act.
Okay, well, everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. You want to start this? Or yeah, I can get sworn in. He has to get sworn in.
Yeah, Michelle, do you have the we have to swear in Mr. Shelton and Mr. Del Garcia, Chairman Del Garcia tonight. If you gentlemen could stand and raise your right hand, please. Just repeat after me. I, and then state your name.
I, Attilio Jerry Del Garcia,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear,
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the Belleville Zoning Board of Adjustment
of the Belleville Zoning Board of Adjustment
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
That's it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
That's my partner over there.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Okay. Now we'll move with reorganization.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I can't do it for myself.
It wasn't on the agenda. I think the first order of business would be for nominations for chairman of the planning board for the next 12 months.
Zoning Board.
Zoning board, I'm sorry. Or planning board, either. Zoning board of adjustment for the next 12 months. Any nominations?
Secretary.
No.
Chairman.
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 Any second? Any other nominations? Nominations are closed. Roll call vote. It was Mr. Caruso.
Mr. Caruso made the nomination, and it was seconded by Mr. Montalbano.
Got a roll call on that.
Caruso.
Yeah.
Brazil.
Yes.
Montalbano.
Yes.
Sheldon.
Yes.
Mafucci.
Yes.
Del Garcia.
I'll abstain, so I'll be impartial. Okay, I'll take over now. Nominations for vice chairman. Mr. Villano? Okay, can we make that with the condition that Mr. Villano gets sworn in next month?
Yes.
Since he's not here.
Yes.
Okay, so it's with that condition. Do I have a second?
Who made the motion?
Mr. What?
Who made the motion?
The motion was made by Mr. Caruso. You have to speak up. And it was seconded by Mr. Shelton. Okay, clerk call the roll.
Caruso.
Yeah.
Brazil.
Yes.
Montalbano.
Yes.
Sheldon.
Yes.
Mafucci.
Yes.
Del Garcia.
Yes. Nominations for secretary.
Secretary, yeah.
Secretary. Michelle Dalbo?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Montalbano. Made by Caruso, seconded by Montalbano. Clerk call the roll.
Caruso.
Yes.
Brazil.
Yes.
Montalbano.
Yes.
Sheldon.
Yes.
Mafucci.
Yes.
Del Garcia.
Yes. Okay, now. Who? No, we have to do the engineer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
We're, nominations for engineer.
Tom.
And planner, doing both. He's doing
Tom.
both.
Tom.
Harris.
Tom Harris.
Tom.
Same nomination and second. Any other nominations? No other nominations, right? Closed. Take the roll call, please.
Caruso.
Yes.
Brazil.
Yes.
Montalbano.
Yes.
Sheldon.
Yes.
Lefucci.
Yes.
Del Garcia.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
Nominations for attorney of the board.
The attorney we have.
You have to say a name.
Mr. Rago.
Mr. Rago, Louis Rago.
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 Seconded by Mr. Montalbano.
I'll second that.
Any other nominations?
What you were saying.
I'm the chairman, I'm not supposed to say it. I'm supposed to speak to the member. Okay, clerk call the roll.
Caruso.
Yes.
DeZiel.
Yes.
Montalbano.
Yes.
Sheldon.
Yes.
Lefucci.
Yes.
Del Garcia.
Okay.
Thank you,
Our shorthand recorder,
Quick.
Michelle Quick.
Michelle Quick. Okay, nomination by Mr. Caruso, seconded by Mr. Montalbano.
Again.
Actually, one had one name, one part of your name, the other one had the other. Any other nominations? None. The nominations are closed, and secretary, please call the roll.
Caruso.
Yes.
DeZiel.
Yes.
Montalbano.
Yes.
Sheldon.
Yes.
Lefucci.
Yes.
Del Garcia.
Yes. Is there any other nominations for anything else? I don't think so.
Nope.
That's it. So that is done. Oh, the meeting schedule was done in January. Okay. Any applications for adjournment tonight? We have 4 applications on the agenda. No applications for adjournment. Everyone is ready. Correct? Is someone here for Mr. Gassion?
He will be here by 8 o'clock.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe we'll get a break by then. All right. First case on the agenda, ZB-2015-10, 29 Frederick Street.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
please start. I just wanted to be known, I am friends with Michael Stella.
Who's Michael Scott? Is he the owner?
No, it's relative. However, it will not influence my vote. I just wanted to let you know.
I don't even know who you're talking about. That's why I
First
asked.
case.
First case.
Oh, the applicant's relative, but not the applicant.
Right.
Okay. Do you know how the applicant's related?
He doesn't know the applicant, you're friends with a relative,
Yes.
and you can act fairly on this applicant.
Yes.
I don't see a problem. I did review notice and service, and they appear to be in order.
And you are,
My
so.
name is Stephen Shepis. You probably don't remember me, but I was here about 10 years ago on 2 different certification applications way back before you were chairman. Remember, you see it on the right hand side.
Oh,
It
a
was
long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Around 2002, I think, 2002.
Might be further back. Well, no, it's around there, yeah. That's about when I took over as chairman, you're right.
So fate has brought me back to Belleville. I'm happy to be here.
Good, I love when people are happy to come to us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, this evening I'm here on behalf of Jeanette Stella.
Yes.
Mrs. Stella owns property located at 29 Frederick Street.
Owned or owned?
She owns. Presently the owner. She's also the applicant.
Okay.
And she is petitioning the board for certification pursuant to section 68 of the municipal land use law. She had received a notice that the basement apartment that she's lived in since around 1950 violates the zoning ordinance. So when she came to see me, I reviewed your local ordinance, and unfortunately, while basement apartments are presently permitted conditional use in the zoning or in the township, pursuant to section 23(8.21, there are various conditions, 9 in total, some of which she meets, a couple she doesn't. So she doesn't comply with the present zoning ordinance for a quote-unquote basement apartment. But at the time when the basement apartment came into effect in the early 1950s and up until around 1979, it was a permitted use without conditions. So it's our presentation this evening will demonstrate through witnesses and through records and zoning history that the use lawfully predates the present.
So you're saying the use was no longer allowed or conditional as of 1979 before it
Correct.
was permitted? Mr. Di Lorenzo, would you please be sworn in, please?
With regard to the application, you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth.
Yes, I do.
Comments, for the record, Frank Di Lorenzo, who's the zoning officer, construction official in Belleville.
Okay. First thing I'm going to ask is our attorney to certify that the notice is proper.
I did.
It is?
It's fine. Yes.
Okay. All right. Second thing I'm going to ask, is that correct, Mr. Di Lorenzo, what you just said?
Yeah, it's a conditional use in the zone where
years ago, I believe it was allowed, and then the zone changed in 78 or 79, Joe.
Okay, just wanted to have this,
Absolutely, believe me, I appreciate it.
Okay, now, I have a letter. You want this introduced into evidence?
It depends on what the letter says.
Well, it's a letter to you. I assume you're the one.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, we brought with us this evening James Cotillo. Mr. Cotillo, somewhere in the crowd.
Oh, he's going to be one of the witnesses.
Yeah, he's here this evening. I felt it probably would be better to bring him here in the flesh to further
All
elaborate.
right, but we should make this as like.
We can certainly introduce him
Yeah.
as a reporter. You can testify to it.
Okay,
We'll testify.
all right.
You're gonna
Okay.
mark it A2?
Yes. It's a letter from Mr. Cotillo, C-U-T-I-L-L, to Mr. Shepis, dated today, well, no, dated June 2nd, 2015.
Okay, in conjunction with this application, we conducted a thorough investigation of your zoning history. And I remember years ago on those prior applications, I had the pleasure of dealing with the municipal clerk who had been the clerk for eons. And she pulled out of the basement records going back into the 20s when the first zoning ordinance was adopted in Belleville. So we had those records. Ms. Stella went and verified them. I have those records, and we submitted them as part of this application. Under my cover letter of March 24, 2015, we provided a detailed history of the site, of the building, the records associated when it was constructed, and your zoning history. And as Mr. DiLorenzo has corroborated, up until around 1979, basement apartments were permitted without conditions, and then around that time it was prohibited, and then after that it was permitted with conditions. Unfortunately, we don't meet all of the conditions, but we do submit to you that it was a pre-existing non-conforming use, hasn't been altered or expanded, and likewise hasn't been abandoned. The property is located in the RC zone, and as it relates to density, the use of the premises as a three-family, which there are 2 apartments on the first floor of the structure, and then this other basement apartment, 3 units, likewise complies with the present density requirements. So it's not as though we have a 3-family house in a 2-family zone, or a 2-family house in a 1-family zone. This zone does permit the density that exists on the property, so we're covered there. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to have Ms. Stella come up. She has first-hand knowledge of the history of the site. She can be sworn. And then, unless, Lou, you want to swear everybody at once?
No, swear them individually.
Could you raise your right hand, please? Thank you. With regard to this application, do you swear that your testimony will be the truth? Could you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Jeanette Stella, S-T-E-L-L-A.
Thank you.
Ms. Stella, why don't you just introduce yourself to the board and how it is your relationship to this property, 29 Frederick Street?
My grandmother owned it originally. She passed away in '57. My parents bought the property, and we lived there all this time. When my mom died, it was reverted to me.
When did you first become a resident of the house at 29 Frederick Street?
During the war. I wasn't,
Which
wasn't
war?
really,
Was it World War II? Sorry.
Yes.
World War II?
Yes.
Okay.
Because my father went into service, and my mother, my brother, and I moved in with my grandmother, which would have been around 43, 44, sometime around there.
And just so everybody understands, what year were you born?
I was born in 43.
Okay. And could you tell us at the time your earliest remembrances of the house? And I realize that you were a child.
My earliest, I know when. I know when I was 4 years old. I know we lived down there. I had gone to visit a neighbor 2 doors away. I was bit by her dog, which got away and wound up getting killed by a subway. And my neighbor took me home to my mother, and I remember that's where we were living, in the basement. And that would have been around 47.
Okay, now can you tell us, as time progressed from 1947 to the present, where have you personally resided?
The basement.
Okay,
Basement.
describe the apartment for the members of the board and the public.
We have a kitchen, living room, small room off of my parents' bedroom, and there was a room in the back that my brothers and I slept with. We slept together too. My older brother must have been around 12, and my mother decided we got separated. So I was shifted upstairs to sleep with my grandmother, and my brothers had the room downstairs.
All right, now, Ms. Stella, in conjunction with this application, you secured certain documents relative to your property. Is that fair to say, both in the town and other
Yes.
sources you had?
Yes.
Now, there was an exhibit attached to the application entitled Schedule A, and it had a very detailed history about the house, the ownership, who lived where, who were the owners of the house, who resided in the apartments. Have you reviewed all of that in conjunction with this application?
Yes.
Was all the information contained in that accurate?
I just realized though, in 48 and 49, we had Zanzaras live there, besides my grandmother and I. They list only my grandmother, but we lived there.
Now, is it fair to say from your earliest recollection in the 1940s to where we are today in 2015 that there's always been 3 separate units in this particular home?
Yes. Yes.
And 2 on the first floor and 1 below?
Right, correct.
Okay, in addition, you provided some photographs of the apartments. Is that fair to say? And next to that
Yes.
document as Exhibit E?
Yes.
Now, as you're looking at the house, can you describe how the entrances are to the separate units?
Today, okay. When you walk up the steps, there's 2 doors. There's an apartment to your left. There's 3 rooms and a bath. And one on the right now it has 4 rooms because we added a room in the back, 1986. And then the basement apartment, there's an entrance going down. Going up is to the apartments, going down to the basement is our entrance.
Now, is there also a rear exit or entrance into the basement apartment as well?
Yes,
Okay, so you have 2 ways in, 2 ways out.
yes, front and back.
Now, when you say basement apartment, is it fair to say, though, you have daylight in there, you have windows
Yes.
that are at daylight?
Yep.
Okay, and describe the rooms that you have in your basement apartment.
Okay, I have the living room, the kitchen, the bedroom, and off of that one there's a room which, when my cousin was living there, they called it the den, but it's more like a big walk-in closet, that type. And then there's a back room, which now we have, that used to be our bedroom when we were kids. And next to that is what we call the hot room, where the boiler used to be, still is. And then we have the bathroom, and then we also have an old wine cellar, which doesn't keep anything cold. But we have a wine cellar.
Now, and next to the application Exhibit E is a series of photographs, 5 pages in total. Have you reviewed each and every one of these photographs that are next to the application? Do these photographs fairly and accurately represent the condition of both the upstairs apartments and likewise your basement apartment?
Yes, they do.
Okay, and it seems as though, from looking at the photographs, that not much has changed in the basement apartment since the 40s. All right, can you describe for us what the nature of the improvements are as it relates to the age and the dating? Is everything in there original, or did you update anything? Is like the tub original?
Oh, yeah, that tub's been there since, I don't remember it. I mean, I only remember the blue one, the green one, that's it. The bathroom used to be bigger, my father made it smaller when they kept here, because after my brother and I, there was my younger brother and my sister. We needed more room in the kitchen, because everybody always ate at our house. So my father pushed back the bathroom door and gave us more room in the kitchen.
Okay.
That's actually the only improvement.
Now, has there ever been a time since this basement apartment was created in the late 40s that it had ever ceased to be a dwelling place?
No,
Was there ever a time since the late 40s that you ceased to live there?
no.
And is it,
I moved upstairs with my cousin, and that's what started.
Okay.
with us.
all right, so there was always somebody living
Oh,
there?
yeah.
Is it also fair to say that there's always been 3 separate
Yes.
families, if you will, quote unquote, whether they were related or not, all living within the confines
Yes.
of 29 Frederick
Yeah.
Street? Okay, and is it also fair to say that the exterior walls of the basement haven't gotten any bigger since the late 40s? All right, I don't have anything else for Mrs. Stein.
Okay. Questions by members of the board? Yes, Mr. Marucci.
Is there an internal stairway from the basement to the first floor? I don't mean the back,
No,
I mean, yeah, okay.
So you can only get in and get out from within that unit.
Yeah, they have 3 back doors, plus the outside door, because there's a back porch, and 3 front doors.
Okay, very good. I'm gonna ask Mr. Cotillo to come up.
No, wait.
Oh, I'm sorry, forgive me, I've
Not
got
done yet.
somebody in the public now, forgive me.
Ms. Stella, I just want to make sure I understand, your testimony is that you've lived in this house continuously since World War II, whether it's upstairs or downstairs.
Yes,
And it's always been 3-family,
yes,
and it's never not been 3-family, it's been continuously the same.
yes.
No, not 3, I got 6 here.
6.
Would you like 6? Three.
6.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at
No,
Mill Street. I'm looking
it's
at Mill
big.
Street.
Okay, that's all I wanted
It's
to know.
always been the 2 upstairs
I'm
apartments
sorry.
and the basement.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Public?
Yes, any members of the public have a question of this witness based upon testimony given? None. Okay, you can call your next witness.
All right, Mr. Cotillo, why don't you come on up, please?
Would you raise your right hand, please? Thank you. With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Could you state your name and spell your last name?
It's James, middle initial P, Cotillo, C-U-T-I-L-L-O.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Cotillo, a note from your letterhead which came in, your letter of June 2nd, that you are a licensed architect. Can you tell the members of the board your status as such is in good standing?
Yes, it is a good standing. I am a registered architect in the state of New Jersey.
Have you ever given testimony to a planning board or zoning board of adjustment as in the capacity of a professional architect?
Yes, I have in many towns throughout the state.
Okay, and how long have you been licensed as a professional architect in New Jersey?
For 29 years, since 1986.
And have you practiced continuously since 1986 as a professional architect?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and what type of architecture do you do?
A whole mixture. I do a lot of residential work, commercial work, public work.
I'd offer Mr.
Yes,
Cotillo as a
sure.
licensed architect.
Thank you.
Mr. Cotillo, in conjunction with this application of Ms. Stella to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for certification, were you engaged to conduct an architectural analysis of her home at 29 Frederick Street, Belleville?
Yes, I was.
And did you conduct a personal site inspection of the house?
Yes, I did.
And based upon that, were you able to write a report to the board dated June 2nd, or actually directed to me, which I've submitted to the board dated June 2nd, 2015?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you did in inspecting the house and what your findings were?
Sure. I went to the property and I went inside the house. I also walked around the outside of the house. I did not go inside the upper units, but I did walk around them and saw the windows and whatnot. The building is a one-story building with 2 apartments on the upper level and then a one-bedroom apartment on the lower level. There's a front door to the lower level unit and there's a back door to the lower level unit. So there's 2 means of egress. I went inside and I just noticed the layout of the space to see what it looked like. I looked at the condition. To me, it's my opinion that the construction there is of original construction. It appeared to me at the time that it was constructed in the late 80s or early 50s. You could tell by the type of fixtures.
Late 40s.
You said late 80s?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, the late 40s to the early 50s.
Now, what makes you say that? What was of the construction genre that made you come to that determination that it was built in the 40s or the early 50s?
Well, I looked at the types of materials used, and then I also noted that they were good quality material. There's over the years, types of building products have changed, so you can kind of date a building just by looking at some of the products. You could also date a building by looking at some of the colors. So when you looked at the bathroom, you could see the tile work, you could see the tub, the fixtures. They're all original. They are actually all in very good condition, and you could date a building in such a matter. So you could look at the styling of the windows, the different like light fixtures, for instance, and I noted that that was all original construction, that the basement apartment had never been updated to a certain extent. So there was radiators, there was an old heating system, an oil-fired heating system, and that's how he determined, that the construction was original.
All right, now, did you conduct an investigation as it relates to life safety issues in the basement apartment, Tom?
Yes, so as I mentioned, there's a front door and there's a back door. So no matter where you are in the apartment, you could get out safely in either direction. There are current working smoke detectors within the unit itself. And in addition, the bedroom that's located in the front area of the house actually has like a walk-in closet that then also actually has a doorway to the hall. So you could come in through a bedroom doorway, or you can actually walk out or walk in through the closet. So the bedroom itself also has 2 means of egress. And there's adequate light and ventilation. Although we're calling this a basement apartment, it's really not that many steps below grade. So most of the sidewall elevation of the basement unit is located out, not below grade, it's located above grade. So the windows are a decent size, and you don't have to go down too many steps to get into the apartment.
Okay, approximately how much separation exists from the bottom of the window to the exterior grade?
Okay, so in looking at the ordinance to what constitutes a basement dwelling, it asks that the exterior windows, the sill of the windows must be at least 12 inches above grade. And I can tell you this evening that not every single window is 12 inches. The property has a slope to it. So from the street to the backyard, the grade gets a little bit higher. So the windows that are located towards the front have more than 12 inches between the sill and the grade. However, when you get towards the rear, it's approximately 9 inches from the sill to the grade. I would like to add that the grade at that area where the windows are only 9 inches is not a lawn or grass or garden. It's actually the driveway. There's a concrete pavement in that area, so it's not really that big of an issue in terms of any type of safety or anything growing or hiding the window because it's all paved. And the property, as I mentioned, does slope towards the street, so there would never be any backup of water. There's definitely positive drainage on the property, so it clearly drains out to the front, so it would never cause an issue with any water backing up into the building.
Mr. Cotillo, could you tell the members of the board in closing, does the basement apartment in which Ms. Steller called her home for 50 years meet all of the life safety concerns that you would have as an architect for it to be a safe dwelling place?
Well, I believe that it does. Building codes do change over the years, so if you had to compare it, if it was built today, then maybe the size of the windows are a little bit smaller, or there may be a few issues that wouldn't meet the current building code. But I'm sure that based on the quality of the materials that were used and the good manner as to which they were put together, I feel that this was probably done by somebody that knew how to construct and that it would have been built according to code back in the day of, say, the late 40s or early 50s, whatever the code may have been at that time. It probably predated the builder code, which is no longer even in existence.
I don't have anything further, Mr. Cotillo.
Okay. Any members of the board have a question? All right, now, currently, according to the letter that I have from Mr. Di Lorenzo, I assume it's a denial letter. Okay. What it says here is it's currently being taxed as a two-family.
When you look at the tax records, it notes that it's a two-family, but it also notes on the bottom of the tax record that there is a kitchen and a bathroom in the basement. So why the assessor listed it as a two-family, yet notes on the bottom of the record that there was a kitchen and a bathroom in the basement is a little bit of a mystery. We don't have an answer as to why that is, but certainly the records of the assessor should be updated, perhaps on either the next reval or whenever he or she gets out there, to reflect that it properly is a three-family. If you note on the bottom on my Schedule A next to the application, there is an Exhibit C, which is the tax assessor's records. And when you go to the tax assessor record on Exhibit C, which is part of Schedule A, there is noted on the top left-hand corner, the box is checked for two-family, but when you look at the very bottom under notes, it says kitchen plus bath and basement. So, and then it does note that there was a building permit for some type of addition off the back. I think that was the covered entrance that Stella testified to. So why it is listed as a two-family, yet there is a notation as a kitchen and bath in the basement, I'm not certain.
Well, I can tell you, because I have a one-family house, and I had a kitchen and a bathroom when I bought it. Actually, I still have everything but the stove. I took the stove out. And I replaced the stove with a washer and dryer. There was only a washer and no dryer. So I replaced the stove, I put a dryer. But I still have the complete bathroom with a shower in the basement. I have a one-family house.
Understood, understood. We have more witnesses that will corroborate that this has been a separate dwelling unit throughout, despite the fact that it's not listed as a three-family on the tax records, but it serves as a three-family and has been since the late 40s.
Okay. Okay. Any other member of the board have a question?
Did you say the 40s or the 30s?
Late 40s.
The late 40s.
Well, according to the tax record, it says from 47 to 56, it was only a one-family. And then in 57, it was converted to a two-family to the present. That was on the denial letter by Mr. D. Lorenzo.
Yeah, I'm looking at the record from the assessor. I don't have that information. I don't know if Mr. Lorenzo can enlighten us.
That's the record that we sent down for a history on the property that the tax assessor sends up to us.
And the tax assessor said it's currently being taxed as a two-family.
That's what they have, yeah.
Any other questions by members of the board? Any questions by members of the public? You wish to call third witness?
Yes, I have Helen Sibilia. She's our next witness.
Slow.
That's all right.
Ma'am, could you raise your right hand, please? With regard to this application, do you swear that your testimony will be the truth? Okay. Could you speak up a little bit, state your name and spell your last name, please?
You can state your name and your last.
Helen Sibilia.
Spell.
S-I-B-I-L-I-A.
Thank you.
And just so people are not deceived by your youthful appearance, can you tell the members of the board your date of birth?
9/19/1924.
So that makes you a little, it makes you just 90 years old.
Right.
And where do you live?
I live at 153 Willard Avenue in Bloomfield.
Now, was there ever a time that you lived on Frederick Street in Belleville?
Oh, yes, a
And,
long time.
and what house did you live in?
I lived at 27 Frederick Street, next door to 29.
And from what years did you live at 27 Frederick Street?
I was 16.
So that would place you somewhere around 1940?
Yeah.
Okay, and what time did you leave the residence at 27 Frederick Street?
When I got married,
And what year was that?
47. 1947.
And did you have occasion to go back there after you?
Yes.
Okay, and why was that?
I moved, when I was married, 1 year I lived on Magnolia, then I moved back to Frederick.
And throughout this period of time, from the 1940s forward, have you been acquainted with the Stella family
All
at
the
29
time.
Frederick Street?
All the time,
And how long have you known that family?
for years. From when I was maybe 16.
And what were your earliest recollections of the house at 29 Frederick Street?
It was always that way.
When you say that way, what way is that?
The way they had it now. The rooms downstairs, the mother and father was always down there for many years.
Now, there was concern by some of the board members that somehow this basement apartment was not a separate dwelling unit. In other words, it was somehow like a finished basement in conjunction with the house upstairs. Was, to the best of your recollection, was this always a separate dwelling unit?
It was always separate from upstairs. Yeah.
Okay. And to the best of your recollection, how many units were in that house? When I say units, I mean apartments.
3.
And is it fair to say there was 2 upstairs and 1 downstairs?
downstairs.
And could you tell us over the years, was it ever changed back to the best of your recollection, like to a one-family house?
No, never.
Is it fair to say then that since your earliest recollection, this house at 29 Frederick Street was a 3-family house with a basement apartment that was
Yes.
separate from upstairs?
It was always that way.
Okay. All right. I don't have anything else. I mean, we can certainly ask some questions.
Members of the board?
We can ask some questions.
Okay.
Maybe not.
You ready
Now,
for your
the
questions?
owner lived down in the basement or one of the 2 apartments on the first floor?
Worked down the basement.
So the owner always lived in the basement, and they rented the 2 apartments on the first floor? All right, thank you. The only question I have. Any questions by members of the public? No. All right.
Yeah, I must say, isn't it a great pleasure when somebody comes out like this?
Yes.
Participation system,
Technically-
90 years old.
And technically.
You know, I gotta just say this. The last time we were here, I said, she told me her age 90. I said, oh, God bless you. You know what she said? He has blessed you.
Yeah.
Somebody that recognizes where it's coming from. Thank you very much. Did a fine job. Our next witness is Michael Stella.
Would you raise your right hand, please? With regard to this application, do you swear your testimony will be the true self you got?
Yes.
State your name and spell your last name, please.
Stella, S-T-E-L-L-A.
Thank you.
Sir, would you please state your name, your date of birth?
December 3rd, 1945.
And you're the brother of the applicant?
I'm the younger brother. She kept saying brother. She was calling me my older brother.
I'm just gonna say this. Tell us what you know about the house at 29 Frederick Street.
I lived there from 1945 until 1968 when I got married. Always lived in the basement apartment. We had a kerosene stove down there and there were 2 apartments upstairs. My grandmother and a rental. All the time. Never ever changed. I did a lot of the work myself with my father. So it's always been a 3-family. Whether the tax records provide that, I don't know, but it's a 3-family.
Now, the basement apartment, was it always, to the best of your recollection from when you were a young man, a young child, was it segregated from the upstairs apartments? In other words, you couldn't get from one unit to the other internally?
Nope.
Okay, and when was the last time that you were there at 29 Frederick Street, the basement apartment?
When was the last time I was there? About 5-6 hours ago.
Okay. Now,
I go there for coffee to see my sister.
can you tell us, has the interior of the structure, the basement apartment, changed at all since your earliest recollection, say in the late 40s, early 1950s?
Maybe a couple pieces of panel and paint. That's about it. The closet that you were referring to in the front room was my bedroom.
Now, can you tell us, to the best of your recollection, has there ever been a period of time since the late 1940s, early 1950s, that the house at 29 Frederick Street ceased to be a 3-family house, or ceased to have a basement apartment?
Only when the town told us all of a sudden that it no longer existed, and he told me to take out the stove, take out the cabinets, and everything else that was there.
Apart from that, is it fair to say that it's remained as a
Always
three-family
been,
residence?
always been.
Okay. All right, I don't have any other.
When did he tell you to take out the cabinets?
When my sister went to see him and he made her cry, and I said to her, she's very upset, what's going on? He says, you gotta take the stove out, you gotta take the cabinets out. It's not an apartment.
This is the basement part.
That's right.
Now, when you said you lived there, you said you lived in the basement.
That's right.
Okay, and you were a child then, or?
From 1945 till the day I got married, which is 1968.
All right, and so you lived there with your parents?
Yes.
And your grandparents lived on the second floor?
My grandmother
Or
lived
first
above
floor?
us on the first floor.
On the first
Until she
floor?
passed away.
Okay, now, who owned the property, her or your?
Originally, my grandmother owned the apartment,
Okay.
the house, and then when she passed away, my mother and father owned it. And when they passed away, my sister.
Okay. So two apartments were always a family member?
2 apartments?
Yeah.
Uh,
When did it
Not
go to?
necessarily.
All right.
For a short period of time, there was a rental upstairs. When my sister moved down, when everybody else was dead,
In other words, your sister lived,
my sister lived upstairs and downstairs. Depending,
she lived in your grandmother's
well, she
apartment?
lived with my grandmother because we just didn't have enough room.
Okay.
And then when my grandmother passed away, it was rented. Then my sister and my mother was downstairs with us. And my sister took upstairs. Then my sister wound up coming down and we rented it. Or shared
Okay,
it.
so right now, both apartments on the upper level are rentals, and your sister who owns the property lives in the basement.
Right now.
Now, what reason did she go to Mr. Di Lorenzo that started all this?
Because my cousin was living downstairs in the apartment, renting it. And she was told she had to leave. So because she had to leave, she went to the town and filed a complaint. And Mr. Di Lorenzo said, you gotta get out. That's.
She was living downstairs in the
Yes, she
basement
was living downstairs.
before your sister moved out.
Well,
No, no, no.
no, during the course of time. You're shaking your head. I don't hear him saying it. But my sister lived downstairs. My sister moved upstairs, rented it to her.
Oh, then your sister moved back upstairs.
Yeah. And she had somebody downstairs. Then my sister has bad legs and said, I have to have the bottom apartment. You have to go.
She didn't switch apartments, she just...
No, no.
Okay.
And she filed a suit or whatever the heck happened and said, next thing we knew, the letters were coming from the town saying, you got an illegal apartment here.
Any further questions by members of the board? Question by member of the public? Did I see somebody raise their hand? No. Okay, any other witnesses?
Yeah, our last witness is Christy Albanese. Mr. Albanese, would you please come up and join us?
Would you raise your right hand, please, sir, with regard to this application? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Would you state your name, please, and spell your last name?
Chris Albanese, A-L-B-A-N-E-S-E.
Sir, would you please?
A-L-V,
A-L-B-A-N-E-S-E.
and your first name is Chris?
Christie.
Christie.
C-H-R-I-S-T-I-E.
Okay.
Mr. Albanese, could you tell the members of the board your date of birth?
7/25/45.
Okay, and could you tell us what your earliest recollection is of 29 Frederick Street in Belleville?
I guess I was 5 years old.
And did you live in that house yourself?
No.
Where did you live?
5 houses down.
And are you
53.
are you acquainted with the Stella family at 29 Frederick Street? And when did you first become acquainted with them?
Well, I don't know. I guess my mother used to go there or whatever. Then I went to school. We went to school together. One of my best friends.
And what year did you go to school with Michael initially? Michael Stella.
1950? Yeah, 1950 was the first year.
And what school was that?
Number 4.
And during that time, did you ever have occasion to stop by the Stella residence?
Always there.
And
Most of the time, or he was at my house or whatever.
If you would please describe to the board the condition of the house when you first became acquainted with it in the early 1950s. Was it a single family, two family, three family?
No,
four
it
family?
was somebody lived on the left, I didn't know who that was. The grandmother was on the right, and Michael lived downstairs. His bedroom was the first one when we walked in.
Now, at that time, your earliest recollection, was it a separate apartment in the basement?
Yeah.
Did it have its own entrance and exit?
Yeah, it was one in the front, and I was back.
Now, what was the last time that you were there?
About a week ago.
And did you have occasion to look around in anticipation of this meeting?
Yep.
Could you tell the members of the board, has anything changed in that basement apartment since you were there in the early
Well,
1950s?
the stove wasn't there no more. That, and there's room, you know, they got, it's like a, you know, like a big closet there, I guess.
Michael's room is now a big
It's a
closet.
room, yeah.
Apart from that,
It's a room.
is the fits, the finishes, the layout of the apartment substantially the same as it was back in 1950?
Yeah.
And to the best of your knowledge, is the house basically the same house in the way of its appearance and
The
its
same house, it
layout?
looks nicer, you know, it's got siding on it or whatever, I don't know. It's the only difference I can see, because all the houses on that block had that, I don't know what it was made of, and even my house too. They put siding on it and stuff, used to break right off. But otherwise, it's the same house, it's nice, whatever.
Now, have you been familiar with the Stella family since 1950 to the present, or was there a time that you like moved out of state or
No,
something?
I was there all the time. I got a shop that was right down the block. That used to stop in, my daughter lives there now, used to stop and talk to Jeanette when she was there. But she still lives out there.
Now,
I still got my shop.
to the best of your knowledge, has the house at 29 Frederick Street, was it ever ceased to be a three-family house?
No.
And to the best of your knowledge, has the basement of the apartment ever ceased to be used as a separate apartment?
No, Michael always lived
All right, I don't have anything further to stop with.
Okay. Mr. Alanis, I have a question, before unless somebody else has a question. All the time you know this property, and you've gone there and everything, was there always two family members in two of the apartments?
there. Yeah, most of the time. Well, that I know of, you know, like the grandmother and
Hold it.
Michael lived
Oh, you have to
downstairs.
hold it for that. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Now you can
No, I
continue.
knew the grandmother upstairs, didn't know the other people. And then Michael's father, you know, Joe, and they lived downstairs all the time.
To the best of your knowledge, did each of the apartments upstairs have their own kitchens and bathrooms?
I don't know, I was only up there a couple of times. I really never, I was always downstairs. We were there
In the basement.
constantly, yeah.
And there was always a kitchen and a bathroom and
I
everything.
remember
in the basement.
when his father fixed it. With all stainless steel, had all old, the cabinets were here, but he fixed it all with stainless steel countertops. You know, that's what's there now. Had the bathroom, and then the one room in the back, then there was the other room right off the living room, and then Michael.
Any other questions by members of the board? Yes, Mr. Montalbano.
Heat, where's the heat come from on this? Where's the boiler at? The
I
basement?
don't know.
Where the heat?
I never really looked for the boys. To tell you the truth, it's gotta be in that other big back room.
It's off the bedroom.
Yeah, it's gotta be in the back room. There was
She said-
another,
Nice
well, there was
heat for the
another
whole house?
separate, there was another separate room, I don't know.
She
the-
told him
The hot room, yeah, I don't know what they call it, but I
First.
remember in the back, there was like a separate piece, like you couldn't see the boiler from that bedroom. And I didn't go in the bedroom anyway, because that was Jeanette's bedroom, you know. Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Any other questions by members of the board? Any questions by members of the public? No. Any other witnesses?
The only other thing I have for you, noting that the zoning ordinance does have a requirement that basement apartments are not permitted in flood hazard areas, we took the liberty of ordering a flood search on the property, and we have a report that says it's not in a flood zone. So I'd like to hand that up as A3.
That's fine, thank you. Any members of the public wish to give testimony based on this application? No. Okay. You may sum up, sir.
Very good, I'll be brief. First, I would point out the density of 3 units on this property is permitted by ordinance today. So I'd ask you to focus on what was the notice of the violation, quote-unquote basement apartment. The reason that we brought so many people in is because the tax records don't seem to line up with everybody's recollection. Why that is, I don't know. You heard, I also brought in the architect to give you testimony about the fit and finishes. I mean, I generally wouldn't bring an architect in, somebody that's like independent to do an analysis. And his testimony is that when he looked inside that apartment, the kitchen, the baths, it's all original, dating back to the late 40s, 50s. So I would submit to you that, as they say, the hallmark of truth is corroboration. You know, for me to drag a 90-year-old woman over here, come and allegedly perjure herself for this, it's not going to happen. And I brought Mr. Cotillo, the architect, to corroborate what they have to say. I wish it would have lined up. I would have just put the records in front of you, had one witness testify, the girl went home 20 minutes ago. But it's not always that simple. So I would submit that, based upon the sworn testimony from these witnesses, and likewise Mr. Cotillo, that this basement apartment was an independent apartment dating back into the late 40s, early 1950s, and that it has remained as such ever since. And that as such, it's protected from the zoning ordinance that permits it as a conditional use pursuant to Section 68 of the Municipal Land Use Law. So, and it's also safe. And I think it's also important, while it's not one of the criteria for proofs that it's safe, we wanted to at least show you that it's safe. We had the architect do the analysis, life safety issues, it's not in a flood zone, light, air, open space, it's got ventilation, heating, et cetera, et cetera. So I would submit to you that the proofs are here. We've established, more likely than not, it's not a homicide trial, we're not proving it beyond a reasonable doubt. We're establishing by preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not, that this is a lawful pre-existing, non-conforming, quote-unquote basement apartment as defined by the Belleville zoning ordinance and should be permitted to continue as such, as protected by Section 68 of the MRU. Thank you.
And to ask you a couple of questions
Please.
before we finish. You cannot explain why there's been at least 2 or 3 revaluations that it was never picked up as a 3-family.
I really can't. I mean, I wish I could have.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Please.
This famous, when they're selling a property, this famous listing of a mother-daughter, okay, is that considered a 1 or a 2?
I think a mother-daughter is a 1. I don't think that there's any question. And I think that what demonstrates this isn't a mother-daughter is the fact that there's no internal connection between the units, that the units are separate from one another. It's not like you can go upstairs and see your grandma, you have to go outside. And the fact is it doesn't have 1 entrance or exit, it has 2. And I think that's very crucial because when you're having an apartment like this that's, you know, technically below grade, it's important to have 2 ways in and, you know, 2 ways out. And why would you have 2 ways in and 2 ways out if it was just a basement where it was a mother-daughter where you're going upstairs to see your mom or see your grandma? I mean, there really is no internal connection inside. And the testimony that we had was that it was that way since the late 40s and 50s, early 50s.
The only reason I asked is because...
believe me, I've seen it.
And not only that, the only reason I asked is because it was always interesting until lately that the basement apartment and one of the people that lived upstairs were always related as immediate family, even though they may have been married or separate, but they were still immediate family. That's why I asked that
I
question.
understand.
Okay. Members of the board, your pleasure.
Move me to approve
As a,
this with condition that.
there can't be no conditions. No. Not on a pre-existing non-conforming use. Am I correct, Mr. Larrego?
Unless it was a major health safety issue,
Well,
but we've heard that.
what I
we've
want
heard
to do
that.
is make sure it's up to date, that's all.
Is that up to Mr. Di Lorenzo?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
can apply for a green card. 'cause it's a
Mr. Di
family
Lorenzo.
now.
Yeah, let him handle that.
Exactly.
We're just basically indicating
Yeah.
yes or no on the
I'd like to
pre-existing.
ask a question.
Go ahead, answer the question.
Mr. Di Lorenzo, did you inspect the property?
Yes, my inspectors were out on the property. They
Yes,
need a,
okay.
they need a green card now because it's a 3-family. They gotta get inspected by the state.
Is it up to date on everything?
Well, for a 2-family, yes, but now when he goes to a 3-family, he has to go to the state. So now he's gonna get a 3-family where he has to get something from the state and they have to come out and do an inspection on it.
So what you're saying is the state has never inspected this?
Not to my knowledge, they didn't show me a green card.
You have a green card?
Not me. No.
That would be a condition. Whether we said it or not, they would have to get it.
Yeah,
Well,
that,
I mean, the green card would have proved that it's three separate families, wouldn't it?
If this board votes yes on the non-conforming, then what we're saying is that it is a pre-existing non-conforming three-family, then they have to get a state inspection.
Right.
But what I'm also saying is if they already had a green card, that
And
would
it-
prove that it was a legal three.
It would certainly help, yeah.
I make a motion, we approve, I don't know, remember, whatever.
Okay.
Do I get a second? Second by Mr. Montalbano. Clerk, call the roll.
Bazil,
Yes.
Russo,
Yes.
Montalbano.
Yes.
Sheldon,
Yes.
Mafucci,
Yes.
Del Garcia.
No.
Okay, thank you very much for your time and consideration. I hope it's back here in less than 10 years.
Thank you.
Okay.